Controversial cover for Time magazine this week. The title is How Guns Won. The author is Joel Klein, takes a look at exactly why Democrats are so reluctant to speak about the issue of guns. This morning we talked to Michael Scherer. He's in Washington, D.C. He is the White House correspondent for Time magazine. Nice to see you again. Thanks for being with us. The article really lays out why Democrats are shy on this issue, and no surprise, it comes down ultimately to votes. Explain to me how that is when it would seem in some ways counterintuitive. Most of the constituents of Democrats are for gun control, right?
Yeah, Democrats are for gun control, and if you're talking about relatively mild gun control measures, it polls sometimes 60, 70% if you're talking about background checks, things like that. But Democrats don't like to go to these issues for a couple of reasons. One, there have been bad experiences in the past. 1994 election, 1998 congressional elections where the NRA went after Democrats, especially in red and purple states, rural areas who supported gun control measures. The Democrats have sort of learned from experience that even if you have 40 or 50% of your electorate supporting what you're doing, there's 10 or 20% who this is the only issue for them. And there are people who own guns who maybe would support you on for other reasons, for economic reasons and other reasons, but guns are sort of a defining issue for them. So it's not worth risking that vote. The other thing is that nationally, concern over guns has gone down pretty precipitously since the 1980s, and a lot of that has to do with the decline in crime. In the 1980s, 70, 80% of the country, if pollsters asked them, would say, yeah, I want more gun control. Right now it's down near 40%. It's just not a top issue in the way it was before. And the last thing is President Obama right now is in a tough election where he needs to win a lot of these red states. He needs to win places with lots of guns, legal gun owners, responsible gun owners like Colorado, like Pennsylvania. And so it's just, there's a real risk, and there's not much to gain by going at this issue very hard. Which is really why it was 5 days before we heard the president say anything in the wake of this Aurora shooting. Here is what he said. He said in New Orleans on Wednesday this. Let's play that soundbite, guys.
I, like most Americans, believe that the Second Amendment guarantees an individual the right to bear arms. I think we recognize the traditions of gun ownership that passed on from generation to generation, that hunting and shooting are part of a cherished national heritage. But I also believe that a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals.
So that is not exactly going out on a limb. It's sort of the strongest thing we've heard him say, I think, and people were kind of waiting for the vacuum. Hearing what Mitt Romney said, considering his constituency, was not a surprise. Do you think, how is this going to play out?
Well, I don't think we're going to hear much more about it. He's in front of a very friendly audience, the National Urban League. If you keep playing that clip, he says, I'm going to work with both parties to build consensus. He's not saying, I'm going to take this issue to Congress, I'm going to fight for a reinstatement of the assault weapons ban or anything like that. He's saying, here's my opinion. I'd like to start a conversation. I'd like to work with both parties. And something very similar happened after the Gabby Giffords shooting. The president said very forcefully, we need to have a national conversation about all these issues, mental health, guns. And we didn't really have a national conversation about all those issues. And my expectation is that we're not going to have one before the election. As possible, years forward, reasonable heads can sort of come together and start talking about guns in a way that doesn't divide the country. But right now, we're just not at that point.
Hey, Michael, this week, the Mayors Against Illegal Guns released a poll taken by Republican pollster Frank Luntz of former and current NRA members, where they talked about significant numbers having some gun control. I'm trying to figure out, you're handed a gift and Democrats can't even receive the gift and take advantage of even that poll from somebody who Republicans love to talk about is Frank Luntz.
No, you're absolutely right that if you talk about relatively mild new gun controls, it polls very well, even among gun owners. The problem is in elections, it doesn't play out that way. And there's more to lose for Democrats, especially in these states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Colorado, than there is to gain by bringing up this issue, because you're handing Republicans a soundbite. You're handing them, the ability to exaggerate your position and say what this is really about is not just more background checks or mental health checks. Right. This is really about taking away your guns, taking away your Second Amendment right.
The NRA has completely reframed this issue and has kind of burrowed into the consciousness where if you talk about,
take away your guns.
it's taken away our guns. No, anything that you talk about, any discussion you have about gun control, always defaults to they're trying to take away our guns. it's a slippery slope.
But let me just say, and Michael brought up the NRA as well, the influence of the NRA has almost become an overemphasized point in this debate. The show... Look, Roland.
Are you serious?
You can say, are you serious? And I'll respond to you with facts. And the truth is the NRA gives, on average, low percentages to congressional and Senate campaigns. Yes, they donate, but the amount they donate to the overall budget of a candidate is minuscule. And, by the way, their record of success isn't that great. Their guys don't always win.
Will, let me help you something. It's like somebody saying, look, I don't have to kick your butt, but the threat of me kicking your butt is going to stop you. They are afraid to even
no idea what that means.
No, what that means is the NRA, the threat of the NRA coming after you will cause some people to say, I don't want to do anything.
Starting back in 1994, by the way, I think that's true. Very much credited, right, for that the landslide by Republicans in the House.
But they've got a great strategy. What they do is they don't spend overwhelming amounts of money, but they target congressional districts, and they go into those districts and they take out people strategically.
And when they do that, look at their record of success.
That is a very
The amount of money is not important. It's the influence and the threat of their involvement that scares even Democrats and Republicans.
It's interesting to see where this conversation is going to go because, of course, every time there is a shooting, a mass shooting, we have this conversation, and then I think because of the political influence, it all peters out. Michael Scherer, the White House correspondent for Time magazine. Always nice to see you, Michael. Thank you.